So last lecture we had discussed about lambda's expression. So control F and you can search for lambda's expression. So this was completed. We had taken few examples on this, and then I think all these examples were covered. This has also been explained that you cannot have static incomplete method inside an interface because inheritance of that is not allowed. So let's scroll down. Now we are going to start with a new section which is a very big concept, and this will take a lot of classes, very important from interview point of view and even the project point of view. So we'll understand what is exception and exception handling in Java. What is the meaning of exception and exception handling in Java? So let's understand the meaning of exception. So let's take one example. So this guy is attending my class sincerely, and while he's taking my classes, I just started with exception concept, and moment I started, that projector fell on his head. The projector fell on his head, and after that he forgot everything whatever I taught him earlier. Now if you notice, this is an exception, unexpected event. He never expected that today I at 5:22 p.m. while I'm taking Java class, projector will fall on my head. He never thought that. Correct? So unexpected event, accidents, which you never expected this will happen. But when it happened, right? When it happened, the result is execution stopped. Exceptions are like those accidents, which you never know when it will occur. Right? We never know when is this going to occur. So these unexpected events are called as exceptions. There is a difference between error and exception. Error means I missed a semicolon. System.out.println. System S written in lowercase. Opening bracket, closing bracket missing. These are all errors. Without fixing an error, you cannot continue further at all. But when I'm talking about exceptions, it means these are unexpected events. What are exceptions? So we never know when this is going to occur, but whenever this occurs, your software will stop from executing. Some more examples. Imagine you're using one banking app. Okay, you're using one banking app. While you're using, suddenly it crashed. Could be the memory in your mobile phone is very less and the app is not being supported. You opened that up, it crashed. Now what happened is, when I said crashed, it is actually an exception occurred because of the less memory, and your mobile phone is not able to support to run this app because the memory space left in your mobile is very less. Now when this exception occurred out of memory, your program has stopped from executing, your app has just got freezed. Correct? So some examples would be like Excel file. I'm putting data into Excel file, putting data into it. After some time, I get a message, Excel file is not responsive, and that freezes. It gets stuck. It gets stuck. And when it gets stuck, you're neither able to enter the data, save the data, delete the data, nothing you're able to do. The screen is freezed. I'm sure this would have happened with most of the people. Yes or no? So understand, unexpected events are exception, which means when this app is going to freeze, when it will hang, when it will not work, that's unexpected. I cannot tell at what time this is going to happen, but yes, it has happened. An exception has occurred, and when this unexpected event has occurred, what is the consequence? Your program execution will halt. Your app will not continue to execute further. the program execution is coming to what? An end. And we never want this to happen. Yes? If exception occurs, Excel file is freezed. Because of that, I'm not able to use any other features in my system. That's not a good way of basically dealing with things now. Now, only one way I can come out of this situation is shut down your system explicitly, restart, and again do the work. But just because the Excel file got freezed, I'm not able to change anything in my screen, right? I'm not able to change anything in my screen. Now, that's a very bad way of handling exceptions. Yes or no? Do you agree with that? You go to an cash deposit machine. You're depositing cash. You're depositing what? Cash. Now, the cash counting started. In between the cash, there was one paper piece. A piece of paper was there. Counting going on, going on. Suddenly, that piece of paper, when it came in between, it was a bad input to the machine. It was a bad user input to the machine. Now, because of this bad user input to the machine just stops. What is the consequence? If it stops like this, it is neither returning the money to me, neither it is depositing money to the account. It is just stuck. Correct? That's not a good thing. Yes or no? Whenever an exception occurs, your program execution will halt. And we don't want that to happen. So now question is, how will you handle it then? Because if you don't handle it, the whole application is now unresponsive. Correct? And we don't want this to happen. Example, that cash deposit machine. It freezes. But when it freezes, what we have to do? When it freezes, when there is a bad user input given, there was a sheet of paper between all the notes. Between all the notes, a sheet of paper was there. Because of that, machine stopped. But after it has stopped, what it should do? Right? Now that scenario, when it stops because of exception, how do you handle that? Is what called as exception handling. Right? Whenever an exception occurs, let's better design the program which can handle that. That cash deposit machine stopped counting money because of the paper piece. In that case now, it should handle that exception and tell invalid input, please collect your cash back. So again the shutter should open up and return the money back. Please check the denominations and submit again. This is what the right way would be. Yes or no? An Excel file, while you're entering data, it freezes. When it freezes, at least I should get one option. Please quit the application. And when you click on quit, some of the data is saved and the Excel application again reopens. That's called as exception handling. Yes or no? For example, lift. Okay, there is auto rescue mode. You notice when the power goes off and you don't have a generator in your building. There's no generator. Power goes off. Now the person is inside the lift. I cannot leave him inside the lift till the power comes back. All these modern lifts, they will have auto rescue system. These lifts will be attached with a UPS. Inbuilt UPS they will give. And what that does, whenever the power goes off, the lift stopped. But then the UPS, what it does, it will take the lift to the nearest floor. It will take the lift to the nearest floor and automatically the door will open, which is called as auto rescue. Correct? Power goes off, exception occurred, lift stopped. But if you don't have a rescue mode in your lift, then the person is stuck inside only. Right? The person is what? Stuck inside only. If at least the rescue mode is there, what will happen? It will go to the nearest floor and the door will open up automatically. That's called as exception handling. Read these 3 lines. Then I'll take a program and explain this in a more depth manner. Read the heading and these 3 lines. Able to understand these 3 points? Everyone? Okay. Now, when does this exception occur? The exception to occur reason is a bad user input. Whenever you are giving a bad user input to your program, that is what it is going to make your program halt. You should not give a bad user input. Can you think of some examples for bad user input? Now, example, see, let's take one simple scenario to make you understand what you mean by a bad user input. Now, I have this IntelliJ open. I'll use the same IDE for today, right? Later, I will make you install this IDE. So let me create here one class A, and let's open this class A, and here I will create one program, simple program. Can you all tell me, can I divide a number by 0? Now this is a bad user input, yes or no? When I divide a number by 0, right? When I divide a number by 0, what is going to happen? Let's see this here. Now further, I'll try to print welcome. Okay. Now when I run this program, you see that at line 14, I'm dividing a number by 0. And when the number is now being divided by 0, it's invalid mathematical operation. Mathematically, it's an invalid statement. Mathematically, it is an invalid statement. You cannot divide a number by 0. If I do that, see the program, at line number 14, it will crash. This is the meaning of a bad user input, which is the line number. If you click on that, you see here exception. And here you see arithmetic exception says division by 0. You cannot do that. Mathematically, this is a bad user input. You can never divide a number by 0, and if you do that, you get this exception. So if I now go to line 14, you observe here, it says at this line, because exception occurred, further it is not continuing the code and printing welcome. Can you see anywhere welcome is printed? Welcome is not printed. But if I divide by 2, then 10 divided by 2, things are fine, right? So it should print 5 and then welcome. Can you see that here? So when did this exception occur? When an invalid input is given, a bad user input is given. Because of the invalid inputs, it's causing me exception. And when exception occurred, my program execution halts here. That's the meaning of program execution halting. And exception means giving bad user input. I hope this part is clear, all of you. Everybody got it? Now the question is, I know that exception is occurring here. I know that there is an exception occurring at line 14, but how do I handle this exception now? So what we do in Java is we use a try and a catch block. What do we use here? A try and a catch block. So we'll write here a try block followed by a catch block. Fine. And what will happen now is this. Imagine these are all the lines of code that is present in your try block. These are all the lines of code that is present in what? The try block. These are all the lines of code that's present in try block. I'm now assuming that at line number 3, an exception occurred. Because of the bad user input, an exception occurred at line 3. Now, because my code is written in try block, listen very carefully, because my code is now written in try block, whenever an exception occurs, this try block will create one special object which is called as exception object. Which is called as what? Exception object. It will create a special object which is called as an exception object. So whenever an exception occurs in your try block, the try block, when the exception occurs, it will create one exception object. And that object's address is given to catch block, which means from this line, you're understanding? Line number 3, exception object created and object's address is given to catch, which means this line and this line is not executing, but the control has come to catch block. Now catch block is the one that will suppress the exception. What it will do? It will suppress the exception. And when the exception is suppressed in the catch block, the further code after the catch block will continue to execute. Are you understanding now? Everyone, again I'm repeating, in order to handle exception, we use a try catch block. Now what is the job of try block? If any line of code in try block causes exception, it will take that exception object's address. This try block will create one exception object. That exception object's address, it will give it to catch block. Now catch block will take that object's address, which is a result of exception, suppresses that exception, and once the exception is suppressed, the further code whatever you write after catch block will continue to execute. Did you understand that now? Right now the code is not continuing to execute, it's halting here. But now I'll take this code, use here a try block, and here we are going to use catch in lowercase. These are all keywords in Java, and there is a built-in Java class called as exception, which we will learn more in detailed manner further. Okay, now observe, I've kept the code in try block. Now exception, when it occurs at line 15, let me put a breakpoint here and show you how does this work now. Okay, so I'm running this in debug mode. We have debug in every tool. We'll also see debugging in IntelliJ later. Which line number am I at? You can see this here. Same controls we have. Step over, you see variable got created. Step over, variable got created. Now see, now this line is already grayed out. Now we don't see such beautiful control in Eclipse, but IntelliJ debugging is more user friendly. Now you notice moment I reach line 15, this line is grayed out. What does it mean? This line will not run. So from line 15, you observe when I step over from line 15, which line is it going to? Did you observe now? It went to 17, and after it went to line 17, you see here, this variable e would have got the value, which we will see further. But after going to catch block, that exception got suppressed. Since it is suppressed, this line is not grayed out. This was grayed out, but this is not grayed out. If you move further, see, it is printing welcome. What is it printing? Welcome. Are you understanding, guys, everyone? Let's see this here again. This time I'll add some more lines here. Some more lines let me add here. Okay, now there's a breakpoint here. Right click, debug. Right, debug. Observe now. From line number 12, I'm going to line 13. Line 15 moment I reach, what happens to these two lines? Grayed out, which means I will not run. So from line 15, which line is it going to? So this line is not running. But after the catch block, you see, the further code is executing. See, that is what I mentioned here. When exception occurs, these two lines will not run. But after it reaches the catch block, after catch block, whatever code you are writing, that will continue to execute. That will continue to what? Execute. What is it printing? Welcome. Now observe. Now here, I will just try to print E. Let's see what happens when you print E. E is a reference variable of built-in class exception. Now this should hold object's address. But since it's a special Java class, this E will not hold object's address, rather it will hold the message of exception. You see this here, we'll get an idea. Step over, grayed out. So from line 15, which line will it go to? 18. And when I come to 19, observe, when I came to 19, what is E printing? Can you see this here? What is it printing? It's telling I'm going to print a message division by. So this E is not printing object's address. You step over, you should observe. Okay, let's do a resume directly here. Observe, what is it printing? So this is not an ordinary Java class wherein upon printing E, it will print object's address. It will in fact print the reason of exception, the message of exception. Right? Everybody got this till here? Now let's divide it by 2. Now if you observe, are the lines grayed out? When I go to line 15, let's debug. Let's go to line 15. Observe. Now is it grayed out? Now this time it executes 16, 17. Exception only did not occur. So there is no point executing catch block. You see, it skipped the catch block. It goes to catch block only when exception has occurred. If exception has not occurred, it did not go to catch block. It skips the catch block and executes the further code. Did you see that? Yeah? Everyone clear with this part? Yes or no? Okay. Now, let's do one thing. Now, when I'm printing E, okay, let's do an exception here. And what I'll do now, I'll directly run this. You can practice this in Eclipse. Don't use IntelliJ for now. I'll teach you debugging in IntelliJ in the future classes. Now observe, when an exception has occurred, looking at this code, can you tell me the line number where exception occurred? No. We don't know. Correct? Looking at this output in the IDE, looking at the output, I really don't know at which line number this has occurred. Which means, if you just write E, it will not give you the line number where exception has occurred. And if you don't know the line number where the problem is, how will you solve the problem? Yes or no? See, whenever any problem occurs, we should know at which line the problem has occurred. And if you don't know the line number where the problem has occurred, then you would not know which line you have to provide a solution. So rather than using this, we will use E dot print stack trace. Now what the stack trace does, this stack trace, this method prints a stack trace, meaning it will print the line number where the exception has occurred. Observe now, when I run this in the normal mode, exception has occurred, and if you see the exception here, you would understand it is giving me the line number. So using e.print stack trace, it gives you the line number where the exception has occurred. Now once you know the line number, you can just click on this thing. See, it takes you to that line. Can you see that? See, click on this, the cursor automatically went there. Okay. Now it also says find y could be 0. So when you click on that, it says look, this is where 0 is. Now when you click on that, it tells you this value should not be 0. So getting the line number where exception occurred, if you want, we should use this method. Did you understand, everyone? Now everyone, did you understand this part? Yes. So can you please read this once again? Now does it make more sense? Tell me. Unexpected events are called exceptions. Exceptions will halt your program execution. Exceptions will occur when bad user input is given. Yeah. Now, example 1. This is what we discussed, that the program will stop here, which means these two lines will not execute. The next thing, we are looking at handling exception. So read this. Read this. Make sense? Now, observe, in this case, exception will occur at this line. So this will create an exception object. When I say this will create, try block will create exception object at this line. Give the object's address to E. Print the line number where the exception occurred, and then further it will continue to print welcome. Okay. Now let's continue further. Everybody got this till here? So most of the times in your projects, exceptions will occur. This is a basic way to handle exception. In my advanced classes, we will use a very strong approach in your Spring Boot to handle exception. We will definitely not use this approach. We have a very good approach in Spring Boot to handle exceptions, so which we will learn in the advanced lectures. Now, there are types of exceptions that we have it in Java. Okay, what do we have here? Types of exceptions in Java. Types of exceptions in Java. So what are the types we have got? See, there are two types. One is called as compile time or checked exception. Now, when does this occur? I have a dot Java file. Now, when you compile this a dot Java file, we will get a dot class file. Now, this is called as a compilation phase, which I've explained earlier. Any exception occurs when you're converting .java to .class file. It is called as compile time exception or checked exception. So very popularly called as checked exception. Okay. Now certain exceptions will occur when you run your .class file. So this is your compilation taking place. And here this is nothing but your running of program. So this is called as runtime phase. Any exception occurs when you run the .class file, then it is called as runtime exception or unchecked exception. It's called as runtime exception or unchecked exception. It is called as runtime exception or unchecked exception. I hope this part is clear, all of you. Everyone clear? So now these are the categories that we have. Can you read this once? Read the definition. And this one. Okay. So do you want to take a pause here? आवाज सुन के ऐसे ही लग रहा है. Already looks like saturation state you have reached. Anyways, we are going at excellent speed. Right? Now I'm going to soon convert it to paid batch. And this week, Paka, it is going to happen. No more classes will happen on YouTube. No more classes will happen on, on Zoom. We have our own app, which I will make you all install, and that will have a proper restricted access. Right? And you will be able to access only in that. And people cannot access outside the app. So that comes with a lot of security features, and further classes will happen in that. So some people are still thinking whether they have to pay my Guru Dakshin or not. So anybody pending, not cleared the fees, willing to join, not paid the fees, don't take more and more time that anyway sir is not checking, nothing you're doing, because all of a sudden checking will start. I give so much of time so that I don't want people to take a wrong decision. I want them to get comfortable with our classes, and when they are confident about me, then only they join my classes. That's the reason I give them so much of time. Okay, now that we have given enough time, okay, people, soon we are going to convert this to a paid batch and classes will happen only in the app. I know abstract class is missing. I will take that up. Don't worry. After exception classes, we can take that concept. You remind me. We'll cover that up. That concept was supposed to be after interface, but there is no sequence. We can take it in any order. However, we'll complete that concept which was pending. Is this clear, everyone? Any doubts in today's class? Shall I wind up today's lecture here? Yes? Fine then. I'm going to stop my today's session here. And sir, stack heap memory also. Yes, we'll cover that. Don't worry. By the time I finish everything required for advanced classes, this all topics I will cover and give you. Don't worry. And see, lot of people, they think here that we cannot apply as a fresher. See, you can apply. I'll be teaching you that as well. Like recently we had one of the guy who, followed our strategy. In a week, he got 2 calls as a fresher. He cracked, he joined the company. But yes, the packages will be little low. 23,000, 25,000, 30,000, things like that. And of course, our strategy, the pakka, it has to give you placements. So we'll apply as both. I mentioned this earlier also. Right? And whichever works for us, we will go with that. As a fresher, we can start applying after 4 months of training, which I'll be teaching you. And after 6.5 months, you will apply with the approach which I am going to tell you. We'll follow both the approaches. Fine? That's it, guys. Bye bye. Take care.